fighting on the capital Bamako. And Kenya's southeastern region was the scene of another reprisal attack involving nomadic herdsmen and farmers. The recent fighting left at least 33 people killed, including 8 policemen. We have details of those stories and others in this roundup of news.
For Mujwa, the shooting in which 16 Muslim clergy were killed by the Malian army was a declaration of war. The Islamist organization, which controls the north of Mali with other groups linked to Al-Qaeda, announced that it would advance to the south, towards Bamako. On the 1st of September, the group took over the town of Douentza at the center of the country. A political analyst is sounding the alarm. The situation is really chaotic, and if we don't do anything, the Mujwa will occupy the whole territory. The 16 clergy who were on their way to Bamako Saturday evening belong to the Dawa sect, who, according to its representative, has nothing to do with the Islamist rebels. Violence continues in Kenya. Since the month of August, 2 rival communities, the sedentary Pokomos and the nomadic Ormas, have been fighting in the region of Tana River in the south. Last month, 52 Ormas were killed with machetes by the Pokomos. On Monday, a new attack led by the Ormas killed 33 people, including 8 police officers who were sent to the region to restore order. The Libyan Council for Freedom and Human Rights responded negatively on Sunday to the announcement that the trial of Saif al-Islam, one of Gaddafi's sons, was to be postponed. The council says we cannot have a fair trial in Libya. International organizations too demand a trial at the International Criminal Court. Saif al-Islam, who was arrested last November, is being charged with crimes against humanity. His trial was supposed to begin in September, but Libyan courts wanted to wait in case additional witnesses decided to speak up after the return to Libya of the former Secret Service chief Abdullah al-Sanusi.
Iraqi Vice President and prominent Sunni politician Tariq al-Hashimi has been sentenced to death in absentia. The fugitive vice president fled to Turkey after falling out with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. Al-Hashimi's sentencing came amid a weekend of horrific violence across major Shia-dominated cities and towns in Iraq. We have details of that story in this report.
Iraq was rocked by a series of bombing attacks over the weekend that resulted in more than 88 deaths, with 400 other people injured, mostly from the Shiite community. The country has been hit regularly by explosions meant to feed on a climate of instability, but the latest attacks were linked to the sentencing to death in absentia of the Sunni Vice President Tariq al-Hashimi and his son-in-law Ahmad Katan, his personal secretary. They were accused of having organized the deaths of some 150 Iraqi officials. Al-Hashimi is in exile in Turkey, where he has the support of Prime Minister Erdogan. He denied the accusations, calling them political, and criticized the action taken against him by Shiite Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki.
Al-Maliki has revealed how his judicial power is now politicized, and how the trial against me is a sham. There were mock court sessions during which my security guards were savagely tortured, and some of them died later on.
The Iraqi people are caught between an increasingly dangerous security situation and a political crisis. They do not believe the death sentence against al-Hashimi is legitimate.
First, the sentence will not be carried out because they will reach a political compromise amongst themselves. The question is, how many people in Iraq who got involved in terrorism and assassinations still have roles in the government?
Nor do they believe that the explosions in Amara, Baghdad, and Sadr City were linked to the death sentence.
It is the work of terrorists. Others are blaming Sunnis, but nobody knows. Only God knows this.
Tariq al-Hashimi has 30 days to appeal the death sentence. He has called on the United Nations to send judges to Iraq to investigate the crimes of which he has been accused.
Pro-Beijing parties have won the majority of seats in local elections in Hong Kong, but Democrats receive enough votes to retain veto power. Hong Kong's legislative elections can be a little complicated as winners are not elected by everyone eligible to vote. The Pro-Democracy Party was expected to get a boost when a controversial plan to require that Chinese national education be taught in local schools was scrapped, but the government also left it up to each school to decide whether or not to go ahead with the curriculum that promotes Chinese patriotism. CNN's Rami Esencio reports.
People power in Hong Kong. After 10 days of rallies by tens of thousands of protesters, Hong Kong's government has eased off on a proposal for compulsory pro-China patriotism classes. Critics, many of them students, had called it brainwashing. The label stuck, which led to this surprise late Saturday.
Having listened to all opinions, the government has decided to amend its policy concerning moral and national education. Schools can decide themselves if and how they want to implement it.
Still, Hong Kong's chief executive added that if schools have already started the course rollout, then outside forces shouldn't interfere. The initial education proposal targeted primary and secondary school students across the territory. Critics say it glossed over key controversial events in Chinese history, making no mention of the 1989 Tiananmen massacre, in which hundreds, if not thousands of people were killed by China's military. The classes also described China's Communist Party as, quote, progressive, selfless, and united. Adjectives many might say are inappropriate opinions.
We need more facts, and actually we want the students or our children to know more about the country. It's not like that, just not like the curriculum now.
Critics also consider suspect the timing of the government U-turn on the eve of legislative elections that happen once every 4 years. Many say it was an attempt to get voters to back pro-Beijing politicians, but pro-democracy legislators did worse than expected because of vote splitting and infighting. And while the electoral battle is over, the educational one continues to rage. Critics say they won't be satisfied until the so-called brainwashing curriculum is totally scrapped. Now, to keep up the pressure, they're calling on all university students to boycott classes on Tuesday. So this clearly is not over yet. Rami Inocencio, CNN, Hong Kong.
Well, we now take our second break. We'll be right back.
What's your AfriCell number?
773.
What's your mobile number?
735.
What's your AfriCell number?
746.
What's your number?
My number is 215. 2?
You mean 72?
No, it's 2, and I am AfriCell 2. AfriCell 2? Hey, hey! Yes, 2 is AfriCell 2. Hey, hey! AfriCell introduces the new AfriCell series, the number 2.
Welcoming the number 2 to the AfriCell family.
From now on, the AfriCell lines will not only start with the number 7, but also with the number 2.
Get a new AfriCell SIM card now that starts with the number 2.
So now I can get an AfriCell number that starts with the number 2?
Yes. And when you receive a call from a number starting with the number 2, it's one of the new AfriCell lines calling you. My mobile number is 2 and...
Welcome back. The U.S. men's Grand Slam final pit Serbian star Novak Djokovic against British number 1 Andy Murray after play was moved to Monday due to bad weather. CNN's Don Riddle has more on the state of the roofless Flushing Middle Center Court hosting the finals.
US Open is supposed to look like this, the year's final tennis major bathed in sunshine. But increasingly, it's looking like this, and the weather has played havoc with the schedules.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the 5th Monday final here in US Open. And,
There are several problems, one of which is that they don't have a roof to guard against the elements.
Wimbledon has done it, the Australian Open have done it. America being always state-of-the-art, they should really do something about it. That would solve all problems.
It's not that easy, though. The Arthur Ashe Stadium is so big and the ground beneath it so soft that a major redesign is needed if they're ever going to take shelter.
I think if the USGA could start all over, they would have built Arthur Ashe with the underpinnings, but they haven't, so they're going to make good with this.
One thought is that they actually take the top tier of the structure off, replace it with something more lightweight in structure, and then you can build a roof without the whole thing sinking into the ground.
In the meantime, a quick fix would be for the organisers to revise a schedule that currently squashes the biggest matches into the last 2 days of the tournament.
Eventually playing back-to-back 5 sets with the top rivals and top guys. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous, you know, from the players' perspective. So